Alonso will cross the line to become Formula One world champion.
The biggest thing was to fight with Michael. Honestly, 2005, it was fantastic because we were racing against the legend.
Alonso side by side with Lewis Hamilton, and Alonso pushes his way past.
If you want to beat Lewis, you need to perform at your best. I'm really looking forward to the third championship, and I will do what is in my hands and even more, in the next coming years. It will mean a lot in terms of maybe a legacy.
Welcome everyone to Beyond the Grid with me, Tom Clarkson. This week we have a bona fide Formula One legend on the show. He's a double world champion with 32 wins to his name, and he's raced and beaten the best of his generation. The man I'm talking about is, of course, Fernando Alonso. Fernando returned to Formula One this season after 2 years away, and his third place in Qatar provided yet more proof that he's lost none of his pace or cunning behind the wheel. He was brilliant at Losail, and it was a joy to see him back on the podium, back where he belongs, you could say. Over the last 20 years, Fernando's experienced the highest of highs as well as some pretty deep lows. But one thing that's remained consistent throughout is his passion for the sport. Fernando loves racing, and he loves Formula One. We spoke pre-race in Qatar, where his schedule was chock-a-block. But even in the thick of a busy race weekend, he's ferociously intelligent and thought-provoking. I hope you enjoy our conversation. Fernando, it's great to have you on the show. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm ready for this interview podcast.
Well, look, you've just got off a 14-hour flight from Sao Paulo, and I want to ask first, what do you get up to when you're locked on a plane for that long?
Sleep.
You didn't sleep for 14 hours?
Not 14, but probably 9 or 10. So it became like a normal flight, 3 or 4 hours flight. Watch movies, listen music, so very normal stuff on a plane.
Do you switch off, or are you still thinking about car setup and what's to come on the racetrack?
It depends. There are some times that you still thinking on the previous race or the next race. Other times you are just switching off from motor racing.
I was thinking maybe you're perfecting a few of your card tricks.
Not. I think it has been maybe 6 or 7 years that is. I'm not practicing anymore. So
why not?
I don't know. It's on a standby. That project.
And how do you learn the new tricks? Do you just do it on YouTube, or have you got some magician magician who teaches you?
No, normally I learn on the books that I have from at home, and I have sometimes you meet some friends or some magicians, and they teach you something, or they give you the newest book or a CD, or not CD, maybe now a pen drive or whatever, and
showing your age.
Yeah, and they show you different things and in a different way.
Right, and what about jet lag? I find as I get older, it affects me worse.
Yeah, same to me.
Since we've arrived in Qatar, my sleep pattern's been all over the place. How about you?
Yeah, same for me. I think that's one of the things that did change on my career. When I was younger, I could sleep in any country, in any time. Jet lag was not a problem, and now it's not a big thing. But I feel that I need more days to get used to a new time zone.
And how does that affect your performance in the car?
Not much. I have to say that when you are in the car, there are no limitations on the physical aspect, or it seems like your body is switching on, and the adrenaline is so high, the focus is so high that you tend to forget whatever problem you have in that moment, physically or mentally. You completely get absorbed by the car.
So even mentally, that's the case as well?
Yeah, because I felt that sometimes I get some worries on my head, or I have some maybe personal issues or other things that are happening in the previous days or even that day. and then you close the visor, you leave the pit lane, and for that period of time, you completely forget about anything that happened until that moment.
So look, this season, how much have you enjoyed being back in Formula One?
Very much. Yeah, I did enjoy a lot because I think I came with a fresh mindset. I was happy to come back. I felt privileged to come back. It's not that the previous years I didn't feel that way, but I was more aware, after the 2 years out about how lucky we are driving these cars. Only 20 drivers in the world. There are many, many talented drivers out there that they don't have even the opportunity to drive a Formula One in their career. And I had the luxury to choose when to stop and when to have a break. And again, the luxury on when to come back. And I had that opportunity. So I came with that sense of, I was very grateful, to the sport, to the team, to everyone. And I did enjoy every second.
Had you fallen out of love with Formula One in 2018?
No, I think I needed different challenges at that time in my career. I was tempted by Le Mans. I did obviously Indy 500 in 2017, 1 year before I stopped. So I had all these challenges in my head about competing in different categories and I don't know, challenge myself against some other top drivers in other disciplines in motorsport and challenge myself if I could do well in different types of motorsport. So I don't know, it was not that I was not in love with Formula One, but I felt that I was losing time in my career in that moment in Formula One because I didn't have the chance to fight for wins, to fight for podiums, but I felt that I have this possibility and this appealing challenge of trying something different. So I thought that it was the right time in 2018 or even before that. If I look back to my career, maybe 2015 or 2016 was even better. Obviously, you don't have the crystal ball and you know what is going to happen in 17 or 18. So you still always, hopefully, that you get a chance to fight for bigger things. But I don't know. I was convinced that in 2018 was the right moment to try something different. Even if I still love Formula One, I had other things in my head at that time.
So you come back with Alpine, and before the season has even started, you have that cycling crash.
Yeah.
How big a setback was that?
I think at that time it was not a concern because quickly the doctor said that I will be fine within 10 or 12 days after the operation, and that was at the beginning of February, so it was not a concern. But looking at how the beginning of the season went on my side, I think more time in the car was needed, more time in winter period was needed for me in the simulator at the factory. Maybe I missed one Paul Ricard test with the 2018 car that the team did at the beginning. So, it took me 5 or 6 races to get to my 100% this year. Maybe without the accident, that was okay after 2 or 3. So, it was a setback in a way.
Did the crash affect your love of cycling? Are you still cycling like a mad thing?
I still cycling a lot, but I would say that yes, it did change a little bit my approach for training daily. It's not that I'm afraid now of cars, but I try to plan my day in a different way. Maybe I take the car and I go out of the city 10 kilometers or whatever to a quiet place when I know that there are some trails or something to cycle a little bit more comfortable there. So I'm aware that I'm doing things that before I was not even thinking of, and I'm a little bit more careful on the bike now.
And maybe the Al Qudra cycle path in Dubai, for example.
that will be always a nice option, because you are completely alone there, and the biggest threat you may have there is a camel or something that it comes in your way. But in Europe, the cities in Lugano, I had the accident. I was living in Lugano. I spent time in Monaco as well. There are cities that, cars and bicycles are not a good match.
When I'm talking about the Al Qudra cycle path, I'm referencing a time when you buried me on a bike.
Well,
cycle with one leg when I was really hurting. Are you still so competitive outside of the car that you have to bury whoever is your opposition?
Yes, that didn't change.
That hasn't mellowed.
Yeah, it didn't change. I just came from Mexico. Between Mexico and Brazil, I was with a sponsor with Citibank in Los Cabos in Mexico, and we ended up playing basketball there. It was one morning, we have the basketball court there, and we play for a friendly match with some Citibank bosses.
No such thing as a friendly
clients,
match with Fernando Alonso.
And it was a lot of physical contact, I tell you. It was a lot of push there for that game. We won at the end, but it was like the NBA finals. Everything that I do is just on the stream.
We'll be back with Fernando in a minute. But first, do you remember when Valtteri Bottas was on the show and we talked about his love of coffee and how careful he has to be to avoid drinking too much? Well, I don't know about you, but that's something I can definitely relate to. Because coffee can give you a boost, but there's a downside to too much caffeine. It can lead to a slump in your energy levels. But I need something to get me through the long days of podcast recordings and jet lag, especially at this time of year. And luckily, I've found an alternative. Mission Tea is a new range of 100% natural teas developed by sports scientists and designed for high performance. It's very much like green tea, and it releases less caffeine than a coffee into your body over a longer period of time, so you get a slow release of energy. And it's not just me making the switch. Mission Tea has become part of the daily routine for hundreds of elite athletes, business leaders, and more recently, Formula One teams. The inventor himself, who's a former lawyer called Tom, used it as his fuel when he ran the entire length of Iceland, completing 17 marathons in 10 days and setting a new Guinness World Record in the process. He didn't use coffees or gels, he just used Mission Tea as a boost. So give Mission Tea a try and see the benefits for yourself. And you can get an extra 20% off your next order with Mission. Just type GRID20 at checkout at missionuk.com. That's code GRID20, all one word, at missionuk.com.
At the Hungaroring, 10 laps to go. Going out of turn one, Hamilton trying to go around the outside, here into turn two, does brake later this time, not late enough. Alonso stays ahead, but this is going to carry on and on towards turn four. This time he's alongside, and I think they might have touched there as well. Hamilton had to back out of it. Alonso somehow is keeping Hamilton at bay. This is incredible.
Let's talk about how long it took you to get up to speed. You say you could have maybe taken a shortcut had you had a little bit more time to prepare this year. What were the issues? Is it all related to tyres?
Yeah, I think my issue, I know that there are few drivers that were struggling at the beginning of the year and on the cars, especially the people that did change teams. They seem to take a little bit longer. I think that's part of the process of adaptation to a new team, a new car. But I think this year also the front tire construction did change compared to 2020. And that, at least in my case, was the biggest problem. To feel the front end of the car, to feel where it was the limit of the front end. I'm a driver that I drive maybe a little bit different with the steering wheel input that is quite extreme at the beginning of the corner. And that gives me the feedback on what the car is doing and how much grip I have available. And if you take me that from my hands and my feedback, I'm lost because I don't know what the car is doing and how much grip I have available. So it was difficult.
Why are the Pirellis so much harder than, let's say, the Michelins of back in the day or the Bridgestones?
I don't know. I think the evolution of the cars also is a big thing. We are driving a car that is 130, 140 kilos heavier than back in the 2004, 2005, 2006 cars. So I think that increase on weight plus the how sophisticated the cars are on the aerodynamic side make the stress on the tire a lot higher. So I think Pirelli had to develop a product that is quite robust, for the amount of stress that we put in the tires. So understandably, these tires are more difficult to drive.
But you're always performing to the limit of the tire, right? Whatever era we're talking about.
Sure. But I think when you push these kind of tires, that they have to be more robust, harder, different construction that they keep changing every year, because there is always the problem of the cars going faster and faster every year in the high-speed corners. The cars are heavier and heavier. So these changes that they constantly do to the tire, there is a translation in the way you feel the car and in the way you need to relearn how to push that tire to the limit. So I think that's part of the process of being a Formula One driver, and try to adapt as quick as you can to these changes.
All right, let's talk Team Enstone now. Of course, what was Renault is now Alpine. How different is the team today to the one that you last drove for in 2009?
It is different. I think Formula One did change. There is like a revolution. It's like a digital era. Also, technology did change. The hybrid power units. As I said, how sophisticated are the cars now aerodynamically is night and day change on the cars in 2009. So the team did change in the way they develop different tools. The facilities are better. I think the people at the factory, they are clever now, and they are obviously up to the new standards of Formula One. But at the same time, in Enstone, I think still remain the same DNA on the people working there, with a family environment, family spirit, and a winning mentality, because they succeed once and they want to repeat it. Even if they are not the same people working there, they are maybe the son of some of the people that they were working there. There are a lot of people, willing to repeat that success soon.
Does every team have a unique spirit? I mean, you've raced for 4 different teams in Formula One.
Yeah.
Each has its own unique way of doing things?
Absolutely, yes. I think each of them has part of the DNA of the team. Historically, they've been in a racing with a different philosophy. So each of them are different. In Renault, as I said, I think you find this family environment and friendly approach, by everyone in Enstone and Paris. In Ferrari, I think it's a little bit more passionate, what you see there from the people at the factory. A little bit more chaotic as well, because it's part of maybe the Latin, Italian, Spanish DNA as well. McLaren is like a little bit more serious, a little bit more precise, everything, but maybe lacking a little bit of communication internally as well, but a very professional environment. And yeah, each of them is just a little bit different, but they are all finding the limits and arriving to the same goal, which is producing the fastest cars possible, and they are all extreme on that.
You can't mention those 3 teams and not talk about Minardi.
Yeah, well, Minardi, I put
what are
it
your
on
memories of them?
I put it more in the Italian side. It's more like Ferrari. I think what I found in Minardi on those days was a very passionate group of people, about Formula One, with very little resources at that time, and quite a changeable environment in the way that at the beginning of the year it was Minardi. 2 months before Australia, the team was not racing anymore because the lack of funding and budget. Then Paul Stoddard came in, saved the team in the last moment, and we went to Australia with no winter testing. That was the debut that probably it was unthinkable at that time, and it is unthinkable now. But this was part of the chaos, but this was part of the passion, the Italian teams they put on it, and probably at that time it was a little bit more normal.
You mentioned Melbourne 2001. Isn't it crazy to think that another guy making his debut that weekend with you, Kimi Raikkonen, you're still battling it out there today?
Fernando Alonso and Kimi Raikkonen go wheel to wheel, and Raikkonen gets pushed wide, and they almost touch and come a cropper at turn one. Raikkonen and Alonso separated by 0.5 millimetre, it seemed, going through there before Alonso had to back out.
Love it. What's their combined age?
82 is their combined age.
Let's hope they never grow up. That's great racing.
When you are in that moment and you make your debut, you don't have a clear idea of what the future will bring to you. Obviously, we had both a fantastic time in Formula One. We both won a championship, which maybe in 2001 we were not sure of that success at that moment. But I'm happy to share so many years with Kimi. He's a very good character in Formula One, and we will miss him a lot next year.
What will you miss about Kimi?
He's very honest. He's not playing any games. He's what you see, and a part of this maybe, I don't know, mask that we see from him, of being very cold and not talking too much and things like that. There is a different person, I think, inside, that we see from
not
time
the
to
Iceman.
time. Not the Iceman. I think he's quite warm, inside. Even if you need to meet him, and maybe you need to see him outside of racing as well, is where you see maybe the real Kimi.
What is the relationship like with someone like him? Do you actually have a laugh about races you've had together, battles you've had?
Oh yes, yeah, definitely. We meet sometimes in the airports, outside the paddock, in restaurants, partying sometime.
He's one of the guys you look forward to seeing.
Yeah, especially after the races. He's one of the guys that, as I said, you can talk honestly, with on different topics, and he's straight into the point, and I share a lot of his ideas and his thoughts, about Formula One and about in a way what this world that we live here is like a bubble, and not a real life. We have all these facilities here, we have all this easy life, we travel in good planes, we are in 5-star hotels, we have all the help from everyone, but on Sunday night we are normal people, and we tend to laugh, about how fake sometimes this world becomes,
You say you have an easy life, but has Formula One cost you in ways that you didn't expect when you started out?
I would say yes, but not clear on if I go in detail what I missed or what it cost on my normal life. I will not be able to say exactly what I missed or what I lost. For sure, when you are in the paddock, when you are 19, and now I'm 40, I'm sure I lost few things in life, and obviously you are away from your family for most of your life and friends, and maybe you lose some of them. But when you enter here, you are just living a dream that you started when you were a go-kart driver and you aim to become a Formula One driver. Then you arrive here and you are you are ready to sacrifice whatever it comes with that dream. But because we didn't have a normal life, even from 10 years old or 12 years old, we've been racing internationally in go-karts, etc. We don't know exactly what it means to have a normal life, so we don't miss much.
You had a glimpse, though, in the 2 years you were away from Formula One.
Not really, because I tell you, those 2 years, they were so intense. You know, I was changing cars every weekend. I was driving for Toyota in the World Endurance Championship, but the following week I was in Doha with the Dakar car, surfing the dunes, learning how to drive in sun. And then the following week I was in Indianapolis with the oval racing, and this was a very, very intense 2 years, switching cars and always having a steering wheel on my hands. So again, I didn't have a normal life, let's call it.
It's not just superstar drivers that feel the pressure and stress in their jobs at times, because we all do, don't we? And sometimes we just need a little reminder to take time for ourselves. Here at Beyond the Grid, we're delighted to be partnering with Calm, the #1 mental wellness app, to give you the tools that improve the way you feel. New content is added every week to help you clear your head with guided daily meditations, or if sleep is something you're struggling with, Calm's imaginative sleep stories can help you drift off in no time. I'm a big fan of their nature soundscapes to help me unwind, and their curated music playlists are designed to help you focus or simply relax and fall asleep, whatever you need. More than 100 million people around the world use Calm to take care of their minds, so why not see if it can help you take care of yours? For listeners of the show, Calm is offering a special limited time promotion of 40% off a Calm premium subscription at calm.com/grid. That's Calm, CALM.com/grid. And if your way of taking a little time for yourself is to challenge yourself, set a goal, or focus on learning a new skill that you could be proud of, our good friends at Babbel can help you learn a second or third language in just 15-minute daily lessons. It's the best way that I've found to learn a language on the go, and at your own pace, which is very important. There are 14 different languages to choose from, including French, Italian, Spanish, and German, and they design their courses with practical, real-world conversations in mind. So you're learning things you actually use in everyday life, and it's all thanks to the fact that their lessons are planned and designed by real-life language experts. And because it's available as an app or online, you can log on and take a lesson wherever and whenever you want, and your progress will be synced across all of your devices. Right now, Babbel is offering our listeners 6 months free with a purchase of a 6-month subscription with the promo code GRID. So go to uk.babbel.com/play and use the promo code GRID for an extra 6 months free. That's uk.babbel.com/play, promo code GRID.
Here comes Alonso, the new world champion. Back-to-back world championships for him.
Thank you for all these years. It's been a pleasure for me.
Fernando, when you look at your record, 2 world championships, 32 wins, hopefully and counting, does your talent deserve more than that?
No, I don't think so. I think you get what you deserve. There are a couple of examples that maybe you could say that something is unfair in the way that maybe some people win championships or win races that arguably, maybe there are better people on the grid, but you will never know that because we are all in different cars. And vice versa. There are many talented drivers that, as I said before, they didn't even get to Formula One. And this is unfair, because I race with many drivers in younger categories that they've been outstanding and they won, many championships in go-karts, in Formula 3, in other categories, and they never had the chance to drive a Formula 1 car. And same here now on the grid. We have 20 amazing drivers that maybe 90% of them, they will never win a race in their career in Formula One. And this is unfair because they deserve for sure. So when I think on my career, and I had the luck to win 2 championships, and when I think on my career, I put as well the Le Mans, Daytona, the World Endurance Championship, World Karting Championship. I see myself with more than what I dream of, when I started my career. So I will never consider unfair or unlucky, my results.
By my reckoning, you've only driven the best car once in your career, and I'm thinking 2007. Would you agree with that?
No, 2018-19 in Toyota.
Okay, fine. Fair point. That was the best car in
Yes.
wet. In F1?
In F1, I think I drove the best car 3 times probably. I would say the first half of 2005, and then Kimi and McLaren, they were faster, okay, but they didn't have the reliability. I think in 2006, the first half of the championship, or the first 6 to 7 races, I think we had the best car. And then, okay, Ferrari and maybe Bridgestone, not only Ferrari, they came with a very fast package. And 2007, I think it was quite even. It was up and down. I don't think that we had a clear faster car. Some races, McLaren was faster. Some races, Ferrari. And those 3 years, I think in Formula One, we had a very good opportunity to win championships. We took 2 or 3, so it's okay.
And to win the championship as you did 2 years in a row, as perceived as the underdog, did that give it even more pleasure to you in the team?
No, I don't think that it changed, how much joy or how much, happiness and proudness give you a championship. It doesn't matter if you are the favorite or if you are not within the contenders. I think the biggest thing for us was first in 2005 to win a championship that we didn't expect, because it's true that Renault was a team that it was getting better and better, but not to the point that we could fight for the championship. So that was a fantastic surprise, and this is the first one, so it gives you a double happiness. And the second, I think the biggest thing was to fight with Michael.
The last lap of the San Marino Grand Prix, Michael Schumacher has one more lap, just 3 miles in which to find a passing place on Fernando Alonso. It's been an absolutely thrilling conclusion to this 25th San Marino Grand Prix. Schumacher undoubtedly has the faster car, but Alonso's reacted well. Schumacher has a look at him into Tosa. This is the last time they'll go through this corner. Amazing defensive driving by Fernando Alonso. His hand is out of the cockpit. Across the line they go. One of the closest finishes I can remember for many, many years.
Fernando, what an absolutely blistering last 12 laps of the race. Michael Schumacher, 1.5 seconds behind you as he came out from that last pit stop.
Probably one of the best fights I had. I knew that Michael was more than 1 second faster than me. I was doing my maximum.
I tried. We got very close in a couple of corners. But, he did a great race, and he didn't do mistakes, and that's why he won the race and I got second.
Honestly, 2005, the value of the championship or how we felt at that time, it was fantastic, because we were racing against the legend, against Michael, against Ferrari. Michael decided to stop racing in Monza.
At the end of this year, I've decided together with the team that I'm going to retire from racing. I think it is very easy. What is my mindset? 100% focus for the constructor and the drivers' championship.
From that moment, it was a very intense battle, and even in Brazil, we fought for the championship, and before starting the race, we were shaking hands with Michael and wishing him the best luck on the next chapter in life. But we're still racing for the championship, so it was a mix of emotions there, and that was a special time.
Did he bring out the best in you?
Absolutely. I think Michael was for me the biggest rival that I consider on my career, as like a teacher, for me in many ways, because I was young, I was coming into Formula One, I found myself fighting for a world championship that maybe I was not ready at that point to fight for such a big thing, and I had alongside Michael with all his knowledge and his approach, never giving up, always performing something special, because I remember some races the Renault was a better car, or we thought that we had an advantage on the tires or on the package itself that weekend. And then we went into qualifying, and you're happy, they tell you in the radio that you are on pole position, you more or less expected that, and then you go to the scales, in Par Fermé, you look the screen and Michael was second. How that was possible. You came into qualifying thinking that was a good weekend to stretch a little bit the advantage on the championship, but yeah, even on a bad weekend, Michael was second. So it was unbelievable. The performance that he still put it out. In a non-competitive weekend, he was playing magic sometimes.
Just watching you describe Michael like that, I'm looking at you and I can see the respect on your face. But has anyone else brought out the best in Fernando Alonso? Who else? Which of the other rivals have you enjoyed battling and had the utmost respect for?
For sure, all the champions of my generation. I think Luis. I think with Luis we didn't have, let's say, the competition that I was looking for. It's true that in 2007 we shared the team, and that's for the general people, the biggest fight you could have. But in 2007, I think we both were not ready. Understandably, he was not maybe ready for the fight because he was a rookie and coming into Formula One, and I was, not performing at my best, not really integrated with the team, and for sure we had all the fights together and all the stress together to fight for the championship, and we were not well managed at that time, and all the 2007 thing that we finished with the same points in the championship, which you could see as a very big fight and even fight, but I think we both could have done better. And then in the following years, I had a better package, I think, in Ferrari than him when he was in McLaren, so we didn't fought really directly. And now when he switched to Mercedes, he had a better package, and we never had the opportunity again to fight together. So that's a missing point in my career. But obviously he's a legend of the sport, and he, again, like Michael, push you to the limit, because if you want to beat Luis, you need to perform at your best. And then the other one is Sebastian. Obviously, maybe we didn't have the same package to compete wheel to wheel, but we still fight for a few championships until the last race. And on those championships in 2010, 2012, you have to perform at your best if you want to beat, let's say, a slightly superior Red Bull package that I think they have in that moment. But they have a couple of issues, some reliability races as well that they didn't finish, and we still fight for the championship, and we have to nail every single weekend to be in that position. So they are part of my career, and they will always be, so I respect them a lot.
Fernando, your schedule here in Qatar is really busy, so sadly we're going to have to bring this to an end. But one final question for now is that third world title, if it happens, if it comes your way, how much fulfillment would that give you?
It will mean a lot, for sure. But I don't know. It's not that I'm desperate to get it, and that will will change, my whole career, or it will change my way of seeing the sport. I'm a competitive person, as we touched before. Everything I do. So I'm really looking forward to the third championship, and I will do, what is in my hands, and even more, in the next coming years. But it will mean a lot in terms of maybe a legacy after my career, finishing Formula One, of how to always push to the limit, always try to find the excellence on things you do, having a very high discipline in the way you do races, in the way you approach racing. It doesn't matter if you are 19 or it doesn't matter if you are 42 or 43. It's a way of living and a full dedication to the sport. That probably is the biggest thing if I win the third championship, that kind of legacy and message for future generations.
I'm sensing that if the 22 car is good, you're going to be here beyond 22.
Yes, I will be. And even if the car is not so good, but my plan is to stay at least 2 or 3 years more.
Fernando, lovely to see you. Great to chat. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
I love talking to Fernando. Of course, there's a lot that we didn't get a chance to talk about this time, but there's still plenty to reflect on in that conversation. How his cycling crash earlier this year delayed his adaptation to the current breed of cars was really interesting, as was his take on his main rivals during his career, and I really got the impression that he's enjoying every moment of this comeback. Fernando, it was great to chat. Thanks for your time, and good luck in the remaining 2 races of the season. As ever, please remember to send in your thoughts and stories on Fernando. Have you met him? Have you seen him race? How highly do you rate him? Let me know, and remember, I'll read out the best ones next week. Which brings me on to what you sent in about Danny Sullivan after last week's episode. Many of you loved hearing from him, and I was taken aback by the number of you who have actually seen him race. John Malik got in touch with this. When Danny was driving in Formula One, he had a column in Auto Week magazine. I remember reading his column and thinking how cool Danny was to race against Lauda, Prost, Piquet, etc., and then write about it later that night. In one memorable episode, even though he was a lap down after a pit stop issue, he had a tussle with Niki Lauda and actually passed him on the track. Danny is a wonderful storyteller. Well, he certainly is, John, as are you. Thanks for that little tale. Let's go next to this from James Skoging. The Race of Champions at Brands in '83 was just fantastic, and I was lucky enough to be there, says James. Rosberg was my hero, but he literally shredded his rear tyres trying to hold off Sullivan that day. Well, thanks for getting in touch, James, and for anyone who hasn't seen that race, there's some really good footage of it on YouTube, and I strongly recommend you take a look. Next up, how about this from Regis? What a treat this has been. Danny was one of my favourite drivers in the 80s and 90s. Haven't heard from him in a long time, so thank you beyond the grid. And thanks to you, Regis, for getting in touch. And finally, let's hear this from Nathan DeRover. I was at the Indy 500 in 1985. I was 7 years old and we sat right where Danny spun. It should have been the highlight of my childhood, but as my father never lets me forget, I chose exactly that moment to use the restroom, and we missed it. Fortunately, we still saw him win the race. Oh my goodness, Nathan, what a story. Still, it must have been very cool to see the great man win the Indy 500. We got lots more messages. Thank you to everyone who wrote in. We love hearing what you have to say. And please remember to send in your thoughts and stories on Fernando Alonso. Something makes me think we're going to get a lot of interest in that one. But that's it for now. I'll be back next week with another great guest from the world of Formula One. Beyond the Grid is produced by F1 in association with Audio Boom Studios. Until next time, keep it flat out.